Welcome, everybody. Really pleased to have you along as we talk about G Suite Enterprise for Education. Without further ado, I'm just going to bring in Dan Taylor, CEO of AppsEvents. Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Hi, Ben. Good to see you. How's it going with you?
Yeah, not too bad. You know, in my basement office, as per usual.
Exactly. I'm in my actual non-basement office here in the Czech Republic in Prague. So good to be chatting about G Suite Enterprise for Education, one of my favorite topics.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll pass over to you. Just give me, I'll cycle through the slides as we go, and we can get started about kind of a bit of the background for what we're doing today, and obviously sort of who's going to be joining us. So yeah, I'll pass over to you, Dan.
Fantastic. So guys, a huge welcome to everyone who's joining us now, either listening live or watching this live stream later. Today, we're going to talk about G Suite Enterprise for Education. I mean, you probably know G Suite is now Google Workspace, so we're in for a name change. Maybe even by the time you watch this video, it will no longer be called G Suite Enterprise for Education. We don't know when that's going to happen, but it could be soon. But basically, this is the upgraded version with a lot of amazing new features for Google Workspace. Now, remember that Google has always made a commitment to everyone that Google is always going to be free for schools. G Suite Google Workspace is always going to be free for schools. But this is some kind of enhanced functionality on the security side and on the teaching and learning side, which can really, really help you. Anything you've got to add on that, Ben?
No, I'm going to cover a bit of context in a bit, actually. So all good from me at this point, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so
cool. Perfect. If we can go to the next slide, I just want to quickly introduce the speakers. So I'm Dan Taylor. I might as well start first. I'm the CEO and founder of AppsEvents. We are a Google PD partner and also a G Suite Enterprise for Education partner. And we're 100% Google and we're 100% schools focused. So we focus on training for schools all around the world. Ben, then if you want to say a few words quickly.
About the amazing people we work with, you mean like Lisa and obviously we're bringing Clay into there as well. No, I mean, it's been a pleasure to get the opportunity to work across the world. It's been slightly different this year, working across the world without going anywhere near the rest of the world has obviously been the difference, but we've adapted, I think.
Great. So, I mean, are we going to bring Lisa and Clay to say hello, or should we just say a few words about them as well?
No, I think they can introduce themselves. So yeah, I'll just bring both Clay and Lisa in and say hi. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah, so I mean, actually, I haven't said you said that you're in the Czech Republic, Dan. I'm in the UK, but Lisa and Clay, do you want to, Lisa, start with you? Do you want to introduce sort of where you are, what brings you here?
Sure, go ahead, Clay.
Yeah, I'm Clay Smith in New York City, working with New York City Public Schools.
And I'm Lisa Thuman, and I'm the U.S. Director for AppsEvents, producing professional development in the United States. And I'm also a technology facilitator in a high school in New Jersey as well.
Yeah, so we've got a nice global spread going on today, and loads of expertise as well, which is absolutely awesome. So we're going to talk about some of the technical aspects of G Suite Enterprise for Education and some of the teaching and learning. So Clay's going to sort of lend his expertise to that technical part, and then Lisa's going to sort of take us through some of the learning and teaching opportunities as well. Cool. So thank you, guys. I'll bring you back in a moment. Of course, it's fair to say, Dan, that these free webinars are only really possible with ACER. So let me just jump in and sort of let you explain a little bit about the partnership we've got going on.
Definitely. So thanks, Ben. So ACER are a sponsor of ours. ACER make Chromebooks and also Windows devices. We use, Ben, myself, all the team use ACER Chromebooks every day. They're really, really good. I mean, I highly recommend if you're looking to get Chromebooks for your district or for your school, check out ACER as one of the options. I really like the convertible devices like the Spin 11, which you can convert from a laptop to a tablet. It's got 2 webcams, really durable. So please check it out. If you're interested, there's an email on the screen. Drop ACER a quick email. Say you heard about it on this webinar. It will help us. And yeah, not much more to say, really. Really great devices. And thanks a lot, ACER, for making us produce this free content.
Yeah, and as always on our events, if you want to get yourself a free seat on any virtual boot camps and summits as they are at the moment, then feel free to put your hat in the ring for one of those tickets via gsummit.link/ASA and get yourself a seat on one of our boot camps. Wherever you may be in the world, there should be one with a time zone that will work around your schedule.
Definitely. And just want to say in closing that we're a G Suite Enterprise for Education partner. We're literally just becoming one right now as we do this. So if you're interested in getting G Suite Enterprise for Education, there's a link on the screen. Ben, if you could just drop to the slide, like a 3 on, I think it is. We're only one partner. So obviously, if you have a partner you're already working with, you can go to them. There's lots of partners. We're one of many partners. But we're PD specialists. And if you're interested in G Suite Enterprise for Education, we'd love to set you up and we can get you a free 1-month trial to use it.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll just keep that there as well as we move on through the slides. If you want to have a look at getting that 30-day, 1-month free trial, just to kind of have a look around the tools and explore some of the additional features that we're about to talk about now. So if we're moving on from that, the next bit is I was going to talk a little bit about the background that Dan started off with. So Enterprise for Education came about actually from large school groups and in some cases higher education organizations spotting the kind of features that some enterprise business customers had and requesting that they have access to them as well. So in response to those requests from large organizations, the Google for Education team found a way to offer some of those additional features for a sort of per user fee. And then obviously over this year, there's been some incredible changes to the way that we facilitate learning. And some of those features, like many of you will be using Google Meet and you'll be recording, and you may have seen things like breakout rooms and other things come on board. So some of those features are pretty heavy on the kind of back-end usage, and therefore those more sort of high-powered use cases are something that schools are continue asking for, and therefore that's the position that the G Suite Enterprise for Education has taken, in addition to those free G Suite for Education tools you're used to using. And just again, to reiterate, they're not going away. Google will continue to add free features to the tools that you're used to using as well.
Definitely. I think that's really important to stress because it's something that comes up all the time. Is Google is going to, subtly charge for more and more things? And it really is, obviously we talk to the Google team a lot. And as far as we've been told, which I'm sure is true, that it really is giving a lot of these enterprise tools, which are really heavy on terms of data storage and bandwidth, and in terms of the servers on the back end from Google's side, some of the enterprise features, giving them to schools to use.
So just to give you a brief overview, on the left-hand side, let me just make that a little bit easier for you to see. On the left-hand side, you've got your G Suite for Education. So from the security side, you've got the admin console and Vault, those tools that you can use to administer all of those user and device settings, and also to make sure that on the security side of things are all as they need them to be. Then you've got all the Drive, Meet, Calendar, Classroom, or assignments if you're using the kind of classroom functionality through a learning management system that sort of keeps everything ticking over from day to day for teachers and students. And the additional bits that you get from the enterprise upgrade are from the security side. We're going to talk to Clay briefly about his work in New York City public schools and some of the advantages they see to the enterprise features that allow them to manage, I was going to say a large district, the largest district that there is. And then from the classroom side of things, when we talk to Lisa a little bit later, she'll be talking about some of those things like originality reports, unlimited access to that. There's a beta coming where you can also compare student to student pieces of work using originality reports within your own school or district as well. And then live streaming. And who knows, at the moment it's in domain, but who knows whether that will go out of domain anytime soon. I don't know at all. So with that in mind, rather than just looking at a slide of what they look like, let's get into the nitty gritty of talking about, as I said, we're going to start by talking about how you can be a bit more proactive on security with enterprise. Then we're going to talk about empowering teaching and learning. and priority access to dedicated support as well. So those support tickets you raise just get nudged along the queue a little bit more as an enterprise customer.
Yep.
Should we say it again? they were free and they will remain free.
Exactly.
Awesome. Right, let me jump forward and bring Clay in. So welcome, Clay. Thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolute delight. I know that you're someone that can talk to these particular points in great detail and with great knowledge. So it's really a delight to have you on. So if I'll move the slides into the background for a bit, and I just wanted to sort of facilitate this one as a little bit of a conversation.
Sure.
So for the people watching now and later, you oversee New York City public schools, but what's kind of the nuts and bolts of your role? And then we can talk a little bit more about where G Suite and Enterprise for Education fits in with that.
Sure. Let me give a little bit of background. So New York City is, as you mentioned, it is the largest school district. We have 1.1 million students, about 300,000 staff members internally to the system. We have countless other external members that are servicing our students at any given time. So we manage about 2 million accounts on a daily basis. And that just the mind-bogglingness of that, of everybody who needs a password change, is unbelievable. So my role is specifically to work with the G Suite and work to make sure that it's up and running, that things are secure, that we're doing all the right things that we need to be doing, paying attention to what is coming out from Google, and making sure that our members know and can take advantage of that. And that, we on the back end are making sure that we're making sure that everything is correct and right and solid, so that everybody can learn on a daily basis.
I think you probably encapsulate that exactly the scenario of Google being approached by organizations saying, please, can we have some additional features we know enterprise have? Because I mean, I often talk about G Suite for business, or Google Workspace is used by Google and other companies as well, but I don't think any of them quite hit the numbers you've just talked about.
Yeah, I think the closest would be the country of Malaysia.
Yes, Malaysia has one tendency, doesn't it?
Yes.
So in the process of deciding how best to facilitate learning across that many schools with that many students and teachers, where does Enterprise for Education fit in with that for New York City public schools?
For us, it was not just about providing Google. We've, New York City has had a number of different tenants in the environment for quite a while, and we've all used Google quite a bit. It was much more that we needed to know that when something wasn't happening quite right, that we had Google right there with us. So the enterprise level of support that they give us is a necessity for New York City. When something's happening, I need to know that I have Google right there beside me, working to fix it and make it better. And that's what enterprise gives us to begin with. That's just the tip of the iceberg there. Beyond that, we're managing security all over the place. As we were getting students enrolled, because we actually just set this entire G Suite up in March, and as we're getting them enrolled, we started to see around the time of April that students were starting to use the G Suite to enroll in TikTok, and would be one of those things that I would have to, on a normal G Suite, kind of really dig to figure it out and see that. But it was very apparent on the dashboard of what was happening. So I was able to very quickly take action, remove the access. Students can no longer go ahead and get TikTok with their school account.
So you just mentioned the dashboard. So one of the additional features is this security center dashboard. Is that the bit you're referring to?
That is, yeah. Just to have that up during the day has been a lifesaver more times than I can count. We're seeing metrics on how much, what's going on with spam, phishing attacks, and what's happening with logins, with accounts. There's so many different metrics in there, and the ability to go ahead and create your own sort of tiles. But it's not just that we're viewing that activity, we're able to take action on it. The enterprise environment it has an investigation tool. So you can go ahead and do a quick filtration and search. And with that filtration and search, it's not just, oh, here's the answer you're looking for. It's here's the answer, and here's the possibilities that you have to take action on them. And that taking of action is just one step further that was extremely necessary for many of our teams. It's not just one person that's making sure that every student in New York City is safe and every staff member is safe. It's a whole team of us that are doing this. And for somebody to quickly and easily click a button and take a quick action, that's exactly what we needed in New York City.
Did you also need a cat?
Of course, yeah. Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. He's tangled up in my headphones.
Children, that's what happens on me.
Yeah, always the way. He's going to be very determined to come back, so feel free to sort of carry on without me. Dan, feel free to ask a question while I remove said cat.
Yeah, Claire can ask, how long have you been using G Suite Enterprise for Education in New York? What was the timescale?
Yeah, we got into the trial back in March. We were setting up our G Suite for the first time. New York City has a unique setup that we have 1,300 individual G Suites, and many of them are looking to be managed by a central environment just so that it takes the burden off of the school, while also giving the school the ability to take the actions that they need. So a distributed model of the admin console. So we started setting up in March, and we had a trial, and just demoing and working with that trial and seeing the quick actions that we could take, and the how necessary it was for us really kind of solidified everybody that was in New York City to turn around and say, okay, let's go ahead and work out a deal to get the G Suite Enterprise for our domain.
Fantastic.
So you've mentioned the investigation tool and obviously the dashboard. Is there anything else that kind of you dip into sort of regularly from the enterprise SKU?
We do manage things like devices. We don't always manage it through the G Suite environment, but there are certain devices that we do manage through G Suite, and it's got a rich MDM, a mobile device management area that you can set up things that just push out to your members. And Google's constantly making changes and improvements, and this is an area that we've seen more improvements on, and they're responsive to requests that we have surrounding this. But we've been able to set up things like a work profile on Android devices, so students can go ahead and have all of their applications that are associated with the school on one siloed device. And it's a mobile device. It's not a Chromebook. It's something that's slightly different. So they might be using it for their own personal use as a phone of some sort, and then they flip right into their school environment through that work profile. Doing things like that and being able to manage those and know what's happening with our students has been incredibly helpful in just making sure that they have what they need to succeed.
Because am I right in saying that currently the students across New York are out of school? Is that right?
They are partly out, partly in. Our younger grades are coming back into the school environment. Many of our older grades that can manage it are outside of the school.
So that's obviously put a bit more focus on access devices and all those kind of things as well. Yes,
we want to make sure that they have access to the classroom, because the classroom is no longer a physical place; it's a virtual place.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of challenges, and I think I understand correctly. Some of the changes you had planned have been expedited over the course of this year because of the situation that we're all finding ourselves in.
Yeah, this G Suite was expected not now, but a year from now. So now is fine. We're game to roll with the ball if we have to.
Clay, I was going to ask, obviously G Suite Enterprise has a lot of more advanced kind of reports and searching Gmail logs and things. Is that something you use much of in New York?
Yeah, we do. It's been a lot lately of the spam monitoring than anything else. The one thing that students love to do is to mark their work as spam. And because of that, just to be able to quickly see that, I've got dozens of students that are marking their assignments as spam, and to quickly just go ahead and mark and say, oh, okay, those are not spam anymore, has been helpful. Phishing attacks, to do and drop a report on phishing attacks, to be able to identify domains or email addresses that they may be associated with, to do deeper investigations into figuring out what's going on. Those have been important as well. We're also seeing things like where students are logging in from. And that's been really cool, is to know that, while many of our students are in New York City, many other students are not currently, just because of the situation that is going on. They've decided to seek a safer location with other family members in other areas. So it's been very interesting to be able to see where they're joining from.
Fantastic.
With that kind of access, there is context-aware access, which is something relatively new that's come to G Suite. Is that something that you would look to use at this point, which can kind of identify what type of device they're accessing from, or where, or an IP address, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we wouldn't use it on our students, but here's how I think of it. Many of us have those regulations that we have to connect with a computer on our network to do certain things, which is often that computer that's sitting in that back room in the school. Context aware goes ahead and starts to break us away from that. So it means that we can access something from our school, but it may not actually have to be that computer. We can say that it's located and specific to our school. And if the user goes ahead and changes location, then the access to whatever it is that is a sensitive piece of information is not available to them at that time. We've had communications with another district that said that students using a school-based Chromebook get certain things. So that's just another way to use it. Context aware is not just location, but it's far more and far deeper. And you can creatively think about how you give access to certain documentation or certain applications.
Because is it right that you can also kind of identify the security level or state of a device that they're accessing from, and say, well, because of that, we're not going to let you see everything you would normally see on a device we know to be sort of
exactly, yeah, and it means that you are enabling your users to go ahead and connect with the proper settings, while also giving them some freedom to still access as they would normally.
The other thing we should probably mention is data regions. So there is the ability within Enterprise for Education to be a bit more specific about where your data is being stored. For anyone watching from within Europe, your data doesn't have to be stored within the EU for GDPR compliance. There are 6 criteria for GDPR compliance, and Google covers a number of those. It doesn't have to be where your data is stored. However, we do know that organizations are looking at sort of being aware of where their data is stored. I don't know if that's something that is relevant for the way you use it in New York.
Well, we certainly set our data to be stored in the United States. Mm-hmm. We do have students that do travel, and they because we are such an international community. New York City speaks over 600 different languages. So when they do travel to parts unknown, and they are still connecting for their educational experience, we want to make sure that their data still resides in the United States. So that is something that we do set for them.
Cool. Awesome. I mean, I think in terms of the features, there are obviously a lot of sort of things that you can look into, and we'll put a link to the sort of G Suite for Education for Enterprise for Education sites, you can kind of see a plethora of those. But it was really, really useful to kind of hear from Clay about kind of the specifics on the ground, and not just, I mean, if it's working for 1.1 million students, then that's encouraging. Yeah. And it can probably scale to whatever other schools or organizations we're talking about. Clay, before we move on to the teaching and learning side of things, is there anything else you feel that we maybe haven't touched on that you'd like to point out before we move on?
Yeah, I'll drop out one more thing. Google also provides an export of that data within the enterprise environment into a BigQuery. When it gets into that BigQuery, that provides the ability to connect to a data studio to do really rich analysis on student engagement, on attendance, on just admin audit logs. And that's been incredibly helpful. I'm still exploring the wealth of information that is being provided by that data studio. And I know that Google is also enriching that data as well. But to just get access to the raw information and really be able to do a deeper analysis on it has been incredibly invaluable to provide a school back and say, hey, these are all of the meets that have taken place for all of these students, and this is the time frame that they were in there. That's been really fantastic to have access to.
So BigQuery allows you to analyze lots and lots of data, and you're funneling that through to say, here's a dashboard of an overview so they can kind of take action on it.
Exactly.
Amazing. Thank you for bringing that. Yeah, I'm glad we've got a chance to talk about that one as well. Awesome and tremendous. So thank you so much for your time. It's been a very busy year educationally, so always appreciative of anyone that can sort of give up a bit of time to share as well. So thank you so much, Clay. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope to catch you soon.
Thanks all.
Cheers. And Dan, I'm going to swap you for Lisa, if that's okay with you.
There we go.
So bring Lisa in. Hey, Lisa, how you doing?
Sorry, I had you muted.
Lots of people make that decision all the time.
Yeah. So it like listening to Clay talk about the scale of New York City public schools, you know, the school that I work in has 1,400 students, and we're one of 8 buildings in the district. So I just want to talk about just the benefits of the teaching and learning portion of GSEFE. So if you want to go ahead and drop my screen, my slides in there.
There we go.
Thanks, Ben. So we're going to talk about 2 things. We're going to talk about originality reports, and we're going to talk about Google Meet and live streaming and things like that from a teacher's perspective. So originality reports is still relatively new to G Suite or Workplace, or with your free G Suite account, you have a limit on how frequently you can use it. But with GSEFE, you can use this an unlimited amount as a teacher. And basically the gist of what Originality Reports does is it scans the web and Google Books for anything that might be cited, that might be in a student's work that is not cited. So we're actually going to take a look at it, and you can come back and look at these slides. But instead of doing this, I'm going to show you what the student pre-check looks like. So let's go ahead and do a student account. Now, this student has been working on this research paper here, and they've already run 1 check. The student is allowed 3 checks or to run 3 originality reports on their assignment before they turn it in. So I'm going to go ahead and click run here, and we'll go ahead and click running. And now you'll see that my originality report is actually, you know, tabulating and everything like that. So, and now I can go ahead and click View Originality Report. So this is pretty cool. What Google will do for us is they'll highlight different areas of the text of the student's work and let you know where it finds a web match, and actually give you a link to where it finds the web match. Now that's wonderful, and the student can run that originality report 3 times before they turn it in. But The teacher, if we go into the teacher account, the teacher can't see any of that until the student has turned it in. So you'll notice there's no originality report or anything listed here. So I'm going to go back into the student account and we're going to submit our work. So we're going to go here and we're going to click turn it in. So we've now turned in our work. And I'm going to go back to the teacher. And now if I look in student 13, over on the right, well, first of all, I get a pop-up that tells me to open the report or see flagged or cited passages. I'm going to click got it. And I can see it right here as the teacher. And it shows me that same information that the student had. And it's quite good. Now, the student cannot run another originality report until the teacher has returned this. So you can go back and forth. The student has a total of 3, and the teacher has unlimited times that they can do this. Now, just to let you know, in regular G Suite, the teacher has 5 assignments per class that they can run an originality report on. But in GSEFE, it's unlimited. So as we see here, the student goes ahead and runs their report and views their report. And then the teacher can go ahead in and do that post check after the student has submitted it. Okay, now let's talk about Google Meet.
Can I ask a couple of questions, Lisa?
Oh, of course, Ben.
So this is more student focused, isn't it, than maybe some similar tools that schools might be using?
Yeah, so absolutely. There's other tools that schools have been using. The originality reports is really specific. It doesn't share any student data. So you can't share citations or plagiarism from student to student. There's no comparison there at all. The teacher can also not share from one student in their class to another student in the class. The originality report is only scanning the web and Google Books, not Google Scholar. But Google acknowledges that this is a feature request. They didn't say it's coming, but they've acknowledged that it's a feature request.
Yeah, they've kind of like they've made the decision to put it in the student's hands, haven't they, as well, that the student can check and sort of submit their best work along the way, rather than maybe a kind of catching them out tool.
Yeah, they have the opportunity to go in and run that report 3 times, which I think is super helpful, especially with working remotely and in the hybrid situation, that they're not, that power proximity along with their teacher might not be there at all right now for those schools that are remote. So they can do that self-check.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool and really worth playing around with. And obviously, you do get the chance to give it a little run through on your G Suite for Education account. But I think particularly for those teachers that are doing this regularly, where citations are a really important part of their course,
yeah,
the ability to have unlimited runs at it. Really
and that's
important.
one of the things that I love about GSEFE, right, is that you're really only assigning those counts to the teachers. So like in my district, we have, a certain amount of licenses that we pay for, and they get dispersed to the classroom teachers.
Actually, probably a good time to bring that up in terms of the options when signing up for GSEFE. So you can, as a school, choose to go like a full deployment and get accounts for all of your teaching staff, and then you automatically can have your student accounts provisioned with Enterprise for free. Or you can choose to have a specific number of teacher and student accounts where you pay for all of them as well.
Sure thing. Did we want to bring Dan back in to talk about this for a minute?
I will bring you back in. Yeah, just talking about the partial and the full options for Enterprise when schools and districts decide to purchase.
Definitely. It's a little bit complicated, so please get in touch with us. Just drop us an email. If you're on the YouTube channel, you can just message us there or appsevents.com. But yeah, like Ben mentioned, and you can get a partial license or a partial domain license or a full domain license. And with the partial one, it's either a minimum of 15% of the staff or 50, whichever is higher, I believe.
Yeah, and obviously with the full deployment, you've got the you are committing to all your staff, and you get all your students in a ratio of 1 to 10. So
Exactly.
as long as, I mean, for some schools that might mean that they have to get a few additional student accounts just to make sure that they hit that. But there's a saving to be made there if you go full as well.
And the pricing per account, it's in British pounds, it's £42 a year per license. In US dollars and euros, it's $48 or euros per license per year. That's the cost.
Cool. Cheers, Dan. Right, Lisa, I'll bring your slides back in because I think we're going to talk about Google Meet next, right?
We are going to talk about Google Meet, and many of us that are G Suite for Education had a lot of these features free and available to us until September 30th. And on September 30th, not only did Google, discontinue that temporary offer, but they also started releasing all of these great new features to Google Meet. And I know, like in my domain, we were like, it's here today. And I would announce it to the teachers at the school, like, we've got breakout rooms, we've got security. And so we're going to look at some of those features for a few minutes. So if we look at what's on the screen, right, we've got secure video meetings, recorded lessons, recorded any type of meetings, and then live streaming. And so we're going to start by talking about those secure video meetings. And what I want to do is I'm going to share my teacher account with you guys. So let's go ahead back here into my personal teacher account, and we're going to go ahead and launch a Google Meet. So we can go ahead and use nicknames. This is a really great feature within G Suite for Education. I use it for my office hours. All of our teachers use it for office hours, and it adds a really nice layer of security. So we'll call this, I actually always use help with Lisa for my office hours, and I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Now, the beautiful thing about a nickname, you don't need to see two of me. A beautiful thing about the nickname is that it's still assigned a Google Meet URL. The students don't have that, and the nickname, every time you reuse the nickname, that URL changes. So it's a really nice feature. I'm going to go ahead and click join now on that Google Meet. And the first thing that I want you to take note of is the shield down here at the bottom left. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, and we'll bring that up. And this is some really important stuff that's super helpful for teachers. So the first thing is the quick access. So everybody who isn't invited must ask to join, which means, let's say that an administrator was coming into your Google Meet to observe you, they would actually have to click ask to join, which is really great. And then from a teacher point of view, you can disable anyone in your Meet from being able to share their screen or to send or receive chat messages. So those are really nice additional features. Now let's stop for a second here and let's look back up at that URL. So that URL is a temporary URL. And when I click stop, and then I go ahead and I launch a new Meet. So we'll go to Meet and I'll do that same nickname. So help with Lisa. And click continue. Even though I have the same nickname, I have a completely different URL. And so that's part of the security of this, because you don't want students to be in a Google Meet without your supervision. So nicknames is super handy. And it's very similar to what you see in the classroom header with the lookup code. Okay, the next thing that we're gonna go ahead and join back in there. And we'll turn off that microphone. The next thing that we want to look at is up here, and we have our activities. So when we click on activities, with your G Suite for Education Enterprise account, you're going to have breakout rooms. Okay, you're going to have polls and Q&A, and those things aren't available, I believe, unless you're a GSEFE account. Breakout rooms has been invaluable to the teachers that I'm working with this year to be able to randomly or organize smaller groups of students to work independently, and then that teacher can come in and out of those rooms. They recently we're going to go ahead and click Set Up Breakout Rooms. Google recently added some additional features. So we're going to go ahead and click Open Rooms. All right, now Google has added a couple of things, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join Breakout Room 2, which of course has nobody in it. But the teacher can go ahead, they can set a timer, they can close all of the rooms and bring everybody back into the main meet. And you'll notice that once you do that, your students will get a message that says that the rooms are ending in 30 seconds. It gives them the opportunity to wrap up their conversation with their peers before they go ahead and leave and go back to the main room. And then we have some other features here. So we'll go ahead and close this. And we're going to go ahead and into the 3 dots at the bottom right-hand corner. Before we do that, notice that we now have the raise hand feature for people in your Google Meet to be able to raise their hand. All right, so let's click on the 3 dots. And there's a couple of things here. Number 1, you can record a meeting. Now, this is wonderful. We do this for faculty meetings. We do this for lessons that we're teaching. The teachers, if there's a student they know that's going to be absent, they can go ahead and record it. So you go ahead and record that meeting, and then you are prompted to ask everybody to give their consent to be able to record. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And this is pretty great. In the left-hand corner, you'll see that it's recording, and it will show up, the recording, once you're done, will show up in your Google Drive after the call has completed. Now, you know what else shows up in your, I'm going to click Stop Recording, okay? What else shows up, and we're going to go ahead and switch back to our slides here. What else shows up in your Google Drive is an attendance report. And this attendance report is absolutely great. The attendance report will give you the time that the student logged in and the time that they last logged out, and then the duration of the call. And why the duration? Well, we do this year have some students that decide to log in at the beginning of class and then log out and come back in 40 minutes later. And the great thing about this is that it'll say that they logged in at the very beginning of first period and that they logged out at the end of first period, but it'll also show the duration of time was 3 minutes. So, you know, Clay talked earlier about all this great data that we have. Well, even the teachers have some great data. And another one of those tools that's not necessarily GSEFE, but is a tool, is the Meet Quality Report. And a lot of our teachers rely on our supervisor of technology for this information, because what was happening is the teachers didn't really have a great handle on who was the owner of the meet. And with the Meet Quality tool, you're able to go in, see who is the owner of the meet, see exactly who was in the meet, which was great before attendance reports. You can see who's in multiple meets, who started a meet in case you're having a security issue with student accounts. And it's really great to have access to. So we talked about the nickname. We talked about recording those lessons. And of course, recording faculty meetings and how to record. We also want to talk about, you know, the concept that we can do live streaming here. So we can do a live stream of the meet. Now with your enterprise account, you can have up to 250 people viewing a meet, which is pretty amazing in the meet. But if you're live streaming it, you can have up to 100,000 people within your domain. Now, in my school district, that's kind of irrelevant. But in New York public schools, like Clay was talking about, Ben, I think he said 1.2 million students or something like that.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, so you'd have to have, you know, 10 groups of that going on, but that's still pretty impressive if you ask me. We use the live stream feature for back to school night for the parents so that we didn't have to worry about if there were more than 250 coming to watch the principal's message. And then of course with the live stream, if the participant misses it, they can go ahead and watch the archive. So it's really simple to live stream. You do this from your calendar, and you just go into Google Calendar and add that live stream feed right there. Only guests within your domain can go ahead and view that live stream, which is actually a really great security feature. So Ben, any questions about Google Meet?
I mean, I think it's been really interesting over the year to see obviously where Google Meet was in, let's say, February to where Google Meet is now. I think the team have worked incredibly hard to listen to feedback. And by and large, most of the feedback for Google Meet has been from educators using it.
Yeah.
So like the quick access is actually, I think it was announced on the blog today that if you're a teacher who decides to turn off chat and to turn off like quick access, that will still be the case the next time you go back. So those are becoming sticky settings, which will start rolling out.
That's great. Thanks for letting me know that. I hadn't looked at the updates for today. It's just been such a hectic day, but it's absolutely one of the sticky things that teachers are asking for. So I'm glad to hear that, and I'll share that with my staff.
Yeah, no, and I know a lot of teachers have, like you said about the kind of logging in, logging out. Our young people are very intelligent. They can find all sorts of interesting ways to try and get around it. And obviously, there's been a lot of features that have allowed teachers to feel comfortable that they're delivering learning in the way they want to, taking control of that meet, because it's been partly delivering to a load of children at home. Mm-hmm. Obviously, now we've got situations around the world where it's some children at home, some children in class. So it's become a really useful tool.
Yeah. And, another thing just to mention is so many of the extensions that have been developed were so popular that Google has taken those extensions and built them right in, which has been invaluable. Now, we had some issues with Google Meet this week, and I realized that a lot of our teachers hadn't done the most recent Chrome update. So it is really important, especially with regards to Google Meet, for everybody to keep Chrome up to date, whether they're on a Chromebook or a Mac or a PC. It really does make a difference.
Actually, I just spotted a couple of comments. So Eunice was talking about the students leaving and coming back. And actually, that's a really important workflow for the teachers to be aware of. So if we take, like, for example, creating a Meet Through Classroom, which is exactly the same as the ones you just showed, a nicknamed Meet, the students can't return to that, I believe, once you have left. So you just want to talk about the process that teachers need to be aware of to make that work.
Yeah, so there's a few things actually to think about. Number one, and Eunice, thank you for putting this in chat. Number one is there is a waiting room on Google Meets. So we know, and actually I would like to show what that waiting room looks like. So if we can go ahead and switch back to that Google Meet, I'm going to go ahead and click stop there, and we'll return to the home screen, and I'll start a meet. This is the waiting room. When you see this join now button, you are not yet in the Google Meet, and you can actually see if there were people waiting to get in here. So what happened in my building in the beginning of the year is our paraprofessionals or our co-teachers would sit in this virtual waiting room, waiting to see the teacher's name. But teacher accounts, the first teacher into a Google Meet is the owner. So the paraprofessional or in-class support, whatever term your district uses, was actually the owner because they were sitting in this waiting room. So that's one thing. You can go ahead and stop sharing, Ben. Thanks. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing that is that nickname is a really secure way, and it's the same way with your Google Classroom link, that every time you launch that using the nickname or the Google Classroom link, it creates a new 10-digit code at the end of your Meet URL. So that also is secure. We recommend that teachers reset their headers on a regular basis. We also had an issue that teachers were ejecting students, and once you eject a student, they can't get back in that day. So there's two ways to get them back in. One, reset
your Google Classroom header and then everybody has a new link. Or 2, which is against our regulations in my district, is to invite the student to the Google Meet via calendar event. Now, we don't invite students to our Google Meets because then if you're invited to a meet and you're a student, you can get in before the teacher. And our security layer is that no students are in any Google Meet unless they're being monitored by a classroom teacher or an administrator or something like that. And then to Eunice's point about entering after the teacher has left, 60 seconds. The last I read, it was 60 seconds that they can get back in. So that's one of the benefits of resetting your classroom header. It's just part of your workflow. You end your Google Meet, whether it's one period that you're with that class or the entire day like you are in the elementary level. And then when you end the Google Meet, you reset the header. And that way the students aren't back in.
Something that also came up recently was just making sure that the students do not have the ability to create and record meets. I assume that's a setting that schools would have in place, but it's just something to check that the students don't have the ability to set up meets as well.
Yeah.
But interesting one about Eunice, like that would suggest that I think if some of the students Eunice is referring to are sitting there, and I suppose this is the interesting thing, isn't it, that there's some things like if you think about the in-person version of that, that's a student kind of sneakily waiting behind a door for you to leave the classroom and then sneaking in. And I think, you know, we all have our ways of dealing with students that like to play those games.
Absolutely. And something interesting, a couple of weeks ago, I had a teacher and a student both contact me, and it was for a club. Now, these are high school students. Some of them are 18 years old. The teacher for the club, the advisor for the club, wanted the student to be able to start the meet. It was the president of the club. But the president of the club is listed as a teacher in my Google Classroom. Okay, so that student might be a teacher in your Google Classroom, but that still doesn't give that student the same rights as a teacher account in your GSEFE domain. So there is a difference.
Cool. There's lots of obviously these little things, and I know Google's very responsive to that feedback. And there's been a lot of feedback about, I mean, breakout rooms was one that obviously a lot of teachers are asking for, and we've seen that roll out. So keep the feedback going back to the Google team. You can do that through Meet. I think there's a little question mark in the bottom corner where you can make requests like that. And obviously, hopefully we'll see continued levels of improvement. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Eunice. There you go. All right, I'm just going to bring Dan back in as we wrap up today's session. So yeah, it was obviously really useful to sort of hear from a rather large organization about their security tools. Really useful tour around the teaching and learning opportunities. So really sort of appreciated that, Lisa, both the student and the teacher view, which I know everyone always appreciates, kind of seeing both sides of that. And hopefully it'll give a number of you the opportunity to think a bit more about where enterprise might work for you as well. Dan, anything you want to add before we wrap up and say thank you to everyone?
I think it's really interesting that we're lucky enough at AppsEvents that we get to work with schools all across the world, you know, Asia, Middle East, US, Europe, even occasionally Africa and Latin America. So literally across the world. And there seems to be interest everywhere about this. So that's what's kind of interesting to me. Obviously, Ben, you were lucky enough to help work on a demo tool for enterprise. So we've kind of been involved in it since the early days. And I think you know the lockdown has really shown the power of G Suite, not just the enterprise version, but you know even the standard version. Really, the real power of adopting, you know, from school closing, school opening, blended options. I think it's really shown the power of this, and I think enterprise just takes it a step further.
Yeah, it's definitely something that schools are asking about a lot. So hopefully, some useful information there. Just a little reminder about expressing your interest via the bit.ly link there. Apologies for my mistyping. But if you head to bit.ly/GSEFE trial, The capitalization does matter in that link, by the way. Then you can let us know if you're interested in getting set up for a 30-day trial with the tools that you've seen today. Also, for anyone more generally, we have a virtual summit on the 15th of December. So feel free to jump in and have a look at that as well. But other than that, just a massive thank you to Clay, who joined us earlier, and Dan and Lisa. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Clay, that was really enjoyed your session, Lisa. So thanks a lot.
Always a pleasure to work with you, everyone. Right, signing off. Thank you, everyone.